silly doesn't mean it's bad. There's a lot of silly shit in Lord of the Rings, and I'm never gonna
that's where I was
counter-signal
headed.
Lord of the Rings.
I did that recently also. I made my girlfriend watch the Lord of the Rings.
Good.
And
did she enjoy it?
She did. And
extended edition?
Yes.
Yes,
and,
my man.
And you know what? We did Terminator 2, and I never saw the full extended edition. You don't have to do it, by the way. I think the pacing's better than the original. Don't watch extended Terminator. But yeah, there was like bits. I didn't realize I was watching extended, to be honest with you, until there was like a part, and I was like, this is so silly. This could
Is it when Arnold smiled?
No, I mean, no, not that. That I love.
In Lord of the Rings.
I meant Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it was. It was like, I think it was like Pip and Merry like being carried by the orcs, and he's just like, what is he? He's like, play dead. Is he saying play dead, or he's like, shut up? So he's trying to get them to drink. They're carrying them.
Yes, take his drown.
And it's just such a weird conversation. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? And it's like,
you're right, because I know exactly the scene you're talking about, because fucking of course I do. And what they picked the wrong scenes to extend. So like when they threw in the Saruman dying extended scene, it was like, okay, but that's not, why would you throw it in that way? That's not the way that he died. He didn't get kicked off of the Tower of Orthanc and fall and get spiked. After the War of the Ring, he and Grima and a bunch of leftover goblins and shit, they went and they did this Scourge of the Shire, where they were going to go and fuck up the Shire. Then there's a whole other fucking chapter where after all of it, the hobbits have to gang up and figure out the way to defend the Shire against all of these kind of remnant Uruk-hai orc kind of, mix with Saruman and them.
Yeah, there's asshole men though, right?
And there are some, I think he also has some remnant Easterlings or whatever they would be, those guys who are marching
they're just big brutes who have taken over the Shire, and they've like locked people up, and like they've got like this guy in charge who's like under their thumb, and it was a weird chapter to get to when I read it in prison. So I was like, fuck, we're destroyed the ring, and we've got, I don't know, 100 more pages to go. What the fuck else are they gonna do here? And they go back to the Shire and have a little war. They have a little Shire war.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would have been a really fucking cool scene. It wasn't the Easterlings, it wasn't the Haradrim. It was, I don't remember, the Dawnland, something like that. They were like the evil men that kind of lived in the Rohan area and just kind of caused mayhem. And they had a black crow as their signet, if I recall. And yeah, he scooped up a bunch of them and got them to do some nonsense with the Shire. But Merry, Pippin, Sam, Frodo, with their experience now, they managed to lead it back. And really, even reading at the time, it's like, you know what? Throughout this entire trilogy, Frodo and Sam have absolutely no experience leading people. At least Merry and Pippin have the tiniest bit by being like the second half man to be allowed to ride with Éowyn or with Éomer as they do stuff. So yeah, regardless, it would have been way cooler if they would have put the Scourge of the Shire in there instead of.
I don't know if it would have or not, because in the books it was kind of like waste. I was just like, well, I mean, clearly they're gonna win. Like these guys are like war heroes who have fought monsters and demigods themselves.
Yeah, well, see,
they're not gonna have a hard time with a few like jackbooted thugs who have taken over the Shire.
But at the same time, the jackbooted thugs are regular-sized guys who are experienced fighters, and it's just hobbits there doing it. Like they don't have any. I don't recall any like Gondorian guys or Rohirrim coming to help them out, or elves or dwarves. It was just the hobbits trying to defend themselves. It was. And the reason that they didn't add that, I think, is because the apex of the War of the Ring ends so high that if then you let it come down and then you add a subsequent conflict,
terrible for pacing.
It's not going to crest nearly as well. And so it makes sense for a movie. Let the War of the Ring be the grand finale to all this, and don't add this.
Yeah, Peter Jackson killed it. Yeah, they couldn't have done that story much more perfectly than they did. Even the casting, I think, is just so good. Like when you look at
who didn't do the story well was who wrote it? Not J.K. Rowling, but whatever his name is. Who's the guy?
Who wrote
Lord of the Rings?
J.R. Tolkien.
Oh, J.R.
Tolkien somehow wrote an amazing story, but wrote it kind of shitty. It was a painful slog to get through some of the details he put in that book.
It's not even that it's written shitty. It's that his pacing is weird, and it's clear that he was autistic, and so he would start a chapter that's about something that the reader really doesn't care. But he wasn't writing this for the reader. He was writing it to explore his own fantasy land. And so he would go so deep into shit that did not matter for the overall plot.
Yes.
And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, this Radagast fella must be serious. Or, well, I guess that was a Hobbit. But even so, it wasn't written to be an entertaining thing. It was a man borderline losing his mind alone in a room for years, inventing languages and coming up with
all
cool
of
stories
that stuff
and all the different races, all the conflicts, the orcs, it's so fucking good. People are going to remember Lord of the Rings hundreds of years from now. Can you say the same about a lot of other modern
all
books?
of that Tom Bombadil stuff was just useless.
You all read Lord of the Rings? Everyone here read it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I, a Tom Bombadil.
I tried so many times. I couldn't even get out of the Shire. When I was,
it takes a while. It's a while. I'm just like,
I tried twice. Damn. I never got out of the Shire. It's like playing a game. And I'm like, I couldn't beat it.
Dude, the amount of details about all of the food and items and entertainment that Bilbo was having ordered for his party is ludicrous in that. Because it's like pages where it's like, and they ordered 17 hens and enough ale for a goblin horde, and oh my god, there's another page of it, and
it was fine brown ale from the Sutherlands. In the Sutherlands, they make their ale fine and brown because the summers are long, long summers and fertile soil. Because in the old days there was a sea there,
and the ham, my lord, the ham.
You're like, wait a minute. What? Are we learning about the Mer people who lived in the sea once upon a time, which is now the fertile lands in the Sutherlands, which grows the grain, which makes the ale, which Bilbo ordered enough for a goblin horde to his 111th
but where
birthday?
Did they get the grain? Sent from the undying lands with the elves, no doubt. The highest quality. It's like, and he would get so into that shit that it's like, man, even my love of the Lord of the Rings series, which is strong, good lord, some of those chapters in the books are a rough trek. And then other times it gets frustrating because you'll be reading through it and there's so much buildup, so much plot devices, so much excitement building up, for example, to the Mines of Moria and all of the shit that happens in there. And then the actual conflicts and shit, like you can tell in the time he was writing it what he was interested in, because he'll like blow through the conflict in just a few dozen pages after it's been built up for 100 pages, and then after that he'll dive back into the journey. And so that
I don't think I could have read it as a free man. If I had like other alternative avenues of entertainment, if it was like Lord of the Rings in my hands and my fucking TV and my PC in here and like going out and having a good time or having a girl come over or something were all options as well, I'd have been like, all right, this is not.
I thought you'd read it prior to jail or prison.
I had tried to read it and I had read big excerpts of it, and I had watched a lot of YouTube videos explaining like the in-depth like nonsense
lore and all that.
I like that. I like that too.
I knew more about the
lore stuff.
I had read
Silmarillion.
I had read more of the Silmarillion than I had the books, because I started trying to watch it and read it in high school when one of my friends got into it, but it was just, I don't know, I never got committed to it. But I'd watched so many YouTube videos like breaking down, like explaining who Tom Bombadil is. I want to see that Comics Explained guy that we referenced earlier in the show about Marvel stuff. I think he did a Tom Bombadil video.
I'm sure he did. But the Silmarillion, like if you don't know, that's like an additional book that feeds into the Lord of the Rings lore. I know you know. I was more saying for the people out there who
I only found out like 2 years ago, to be honest with you.
Lives than us. And like
sorry, I think I was cutting you off when you were talking.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. The Silmarillion is insane. It is absolutely insane. It is the ravings of a man.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Do you want to know who Shelob's uncle was?
It'll be shit like that. It'll be like, and then and that's the way it's paced too. It'll be like, and another thing about the elves, and another thing about it. But also that, remember that fucking spider? That spider was cool. I'm going to jump to the side for a sec. That spider, that fucking Shelob spider. You know where it came from? Actually, it was
the spider in the movie.
Yes, Shelob was in the movie. It was the beginning of the third one, The Return of the King. Even though that event happens at the end of the Two Towers, they had to add it in there, keep the first part of the Return of the King more exciting. And his bouncing around, he'll be like, and then also another thing about Legolas, his great grandmother was actually related in a way to Galadriel, which makes him a higher tier elf, and that's why Elrond had that instinct. And it's like,
but I love that shit though. I like that stuff.
Well, you won't get a lot of it unless you read the actual Lord of the Rings books, and it is, if you love deep dives into lore that are so deep it's insane, then you will like the Silmarillion, because it's a guy who's lost himself in his own fantasy world.
Yeah, it's a little much. But yeah, I tore through it in prison. Like less than 5 days for sure. Like definitely less than 5 days. But you got to keep in mind, I have all day.
All three of them in 5 days?
I got one that was just a solid book. That's all three of them. Yeah,
wow.
That's what they had in prison. It was nice and thick. I don't
BRB guys, but I still hear you, by the way.
I don't remember how thick it was. Maybe 1,200 pages, something like that.
You hear that? Don't talk shit on Harley.
So that Harley guy, can you believe it?